A student produced this for UND's TV show, Studio One.
President Thomas Jefferson is said to have performed the first scientific excavation back in the 19th century. He was investigating mounds on his property, but the science of archaeology has grown to be much more. Creighton University Associate Professor of Archaeology, Erin Averett, is here to talk about how technology has advanced her profession. Thanks for being on the show with us today, Erin.
Thanks for having me.
How did you originally get into archaeology?
Well, it actually started when I was a little kid. My mom was into genealogy, and so we were kind of put in the car, drove all over the country and up into Canada, looking at cemeteries, looking for our family, taking rubbings, visiting sites, and so that kind of sparked a bug, right? I mean, to look at sites and try to piece together your family. And then in high school I took Latin, and that shifted my interest to the ancient Mediterranean. And then what sealed it was I went to Turkey for a month and saw all the archaeological remains there and knew I wanted to do archaeology after that.
You told me that there's a lot more skills that archaeologists need than meets the eye. What do some of those include?
Well, archaeology requires you to be a specialist in a lot of different disciplines, so you need to know about the ancient cultures you're studying, about their art, their archaeology, their history, the languages that they spoke, but in addition, you're part of a modern community, so you need to know whatever language the current people speak, you need to know how to manage a dig, so you sort of have to be a jack of all trades.
What's your favorite artifact that you've ever excavated?
My favorite artifact is the first one I ever found. So it's humble, it's not anything really to write home about, but I remember digging my first summer in Cyprus and I found a little pot that was perfectly preserved. And even though you know academically you're digging up something, you know, people living 2,500 years ago, when you hold that first object, it's a really personal connection. And so to me, I always remember that object.
That's awesome. In a second here, we're going to have a picture up of one of your students. How does it make you feel when you get to watch your students achieve such great things like that?
Well, that's one of my favorite things. So now as a professor, I get to bring my own students and I get to watch them experience the thrill of archaeology firsthand. So everything they've learned in a classroom, they get to apply it in the field. And they all love it, right? So it's really neat for me. And when they find something cool, like this student here, they just get so excited. She found a statue of Artemis, so very proud moment for her. It's very exciting.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So how has technology contributed to the archaeology world?
Well, archaeology has always embraced technology from the beginning. Even in the 19th century with photography, archaeologists have always embraced kind of cutting edge technology to enhance and disseminate what we're finding. And with databases and computers, we've always been using them. But in the last couple of years with tablet technology, it's revolutionizing our field. And so now tablet computers are much more durable than laptops. And so we're able to bring them literally into the trenches to record what we're finding instead of using paper. To use them in the sea or in the air, right, to control drones and things like this. And so it's really an exciting moment. We're sort of on the cusp of a paradigm shift, I think, in our field.
What other tools do you use besides iPads as far as technology goes?
You can use iPads for recording or for database management and things like that. We also do a lot with 3D technology. So you can scan your entire site using LiDAR or use different photogrammetry to scan your trench as you're digging to record it three-dimensionally. Or my recent project uses 3D imaging to scan artifacts. So you can do virtual museum shows online and get your objects out there to a broader range of people.
Can you explain to me how you do 3D imaging of a site?
Of an entire site?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we personally have not done that yet, but you can use LiDAR imaging, so, or big trucks drive around, right, with this imaging technology to scan an entire valley, or you can use drones to do that. So that's really exciting. We dig in a demilitarized zone, so we unfortunately are not able to do that. But that's really cool to be able to do your whole site and contextualize everything you find within the broader landscape is really exciting.
Why is it so important to use 3D imaging then?
Well, archaeology is destruction. So as you're digging, you're destroying the context. So the more recording in general you can do, the better, because you're helping preserve what you're destroying. So we write about it, we take photographs of it, we draw it, and 3D imaging just adds an extra layer of recording.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Let's see. Well, I really love going into the field. I'm a real field person. So I like teaching, I like my students at Creighton, but my favorite thing is to be able to bring them abroad with me, and they get to sort of experience a foreign culture, but also learn archaeology firsthand.
And lastly, what gets you most excited when you're at a site?
Oh gosh, let's see. I just think it's so exciting to be on a dig. Every day is exciting because you're finding something really cool. Whether that's an object or just something that changes your interpretation of the site. And it's just an exciting dynamic having faculty and students and graduate students all together. It's a really dynamic environment that's really, there's not a dull moment when you're in the field.
It sounds like you have a really fun job. Thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me.